Elongated skulls have been found in Croatia, and it raises questions about their very many locations where they have been found. I'm translating this from Greek. 3 adolescents were found, and their craniums were deliberately elongated. In other words, they were formed by binding, in order to create elongated skulls. They've been found buried in a pit in Osijek, which is eastern Croatia, dating back some 1,500 years. Scientists also discovered that the skulls were shaped differently. Could such a peculiar event reveal more about the lives of the young men before their deaths? And what could be their association with elongated skulls in Paracas and elsewhere in Central America? Artificially deformed cranials, ACDs, artificial cranial deformity, ACD, is an irreversible and a deliberate act performed by adults on infants who exploit the plasticity of the baby's skull to achieve an attributed new identity, according to researchers. This is in magazine Plus One. Culture's practice covers space and time on Earth, documented on every inhabited continent, probably dating back to the late Paleolithic. Croatian skeletons date back to a time called Great Migration, when there were huge movements and interactions between European cultures. During this time, some families modified, for unknown reasons, the shape of the infant's head, using boards, clay, or even special-made headers. Rarely in those times, this practice covers the areas of modern Austria, Croatia, Hungary, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, and Slovenia. The 3 teens in question were buried with animal bones and fragments of pottery and suffered from a series of long-term conditions related mainly to nutritional deficiency, that is, malnutrition. One child's skull was obliquely deformed, the other was compressed and enlarged, and the third had no modifications. The most striking observation based on ancient nuclear DNA is that these individuals are very different in their genetic origins. That is, the person without artificial cranial deformity is widely associated with Western Eurasian ancestry. The person with the so-called circular skull deformity has an intrinsic Eastern background, while the person with the elongated skull is of East Asian origin. This is what he told Mario Novak of the Institute of Anthropological Research in Zagreb, Croatia. The team suggests that the visual difference could help cultural groups distinguish one another. Their findings also support the possibility that the Huns would introduce artificial cranial deformation into Central Europe, as teenage boys had a diet heavily with millet and mixed terrestrial animals, similar to historically documented evidence of the Huns and other nomadic groups are dated to the 5th century AD. This burial leads us to ask, is this a random feature, or is it a part of a large-scale model of the association between artificial craniofacial disease and team membership? This is what the researchers wrote, and they added, we believe that future multidisciplinary studies that combine archaeology, bioarchaeology, history, stable isotope analysis, and ancient DNA carried out on a larger skeletal sample from a wider area will help us answer that question. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.